Hi, everyone. So I realized that I have been talking a lot about the ascension process and moving into 5D over the past couple of years now. And in that, the mention of our shadow comes up often. And this idea of needing to do the work and to work to heal our shadow side in order to ascend higher. And so I felt guided to share more about this with you and leave you with some tools to use to help you work through whatever is coming up for you so that you can ascend higher. Just a heads up, this is probably going to be one of my longer videos, but hopefully you find it helpful to get a firm grasp on what all of this means for you. So, what is shadow? It was a concept introduced by psychologist Carl Jung, which is the idea that we have a persona and a shadow. And the shadow is all the parts of ourselves that we don't see, the parts that we reject, the parts that we disown and store away in our unconscious mind. And it contains a lot of repressed emotions like greed or anger, judgment, competition, jealousy, unworthiness, and so forth. And it contains painful experiences, traumas that we're holding on to, and disempowering beliefs like we're unworthy or we're not lovable or we're just not enough. Okay. So the goal is to bring these shadow aspects of ourself into the light and then integrate these repressed parts of our shadow so that we become healthy, balanced, and whole again. Our shadow will reveal itself when we're triggered or activated, either externally by something or someone. So, for example, let's say an aspect of your shadow is unworthiness, but you don't really acknowledge it and you go around thinking that you really love yourself, right? However, one day you get into a relationship, and every time your partner talks to an attractive person, you explode with jealousy. And if you can catch the jealous feeling in time before you repeat the pattern and explode, you'll see that the jealous feeling is coming from the shadow part of you that feels unworthy and afraid of people leaving you. Okay. Or only as of late, with the intensified energies on the planet, it's starting to happen internally without the need for an external trigger. Okay. So, for example, let's say an aspect of your shadow is spontaneously triggered while you're simply at home drinking your morning coffee and you're not being triggered from anyone or anything outside of you. And then, bam, out of nowhere, a negative thought pattern or a memory comes to you, and it's accompanied by a strong emotional charge. So it's the combination of the memory combined with that strong emotion, which means, this is what's happening. Your shadow is being activated. So this spontaneous trigger is taking place because you're more available and consciously aware as you continue to spiritually evolve. And it's surfacing because of the acceleration of the energy on the planet, which kicks up this denser, lower, slower vibration up and out of our body. At this time on the planet, the energy is extremely elevated and vibrating really high and really fast as we move from the old Earth, based solely in 3D ways, which is fear-based emotions, and move more into the 5D. Okay, and so it's forcing our shadow to the surface to be healed and released. So just a quick overview, if you haven't watched my earlier videos on explaining what the 5D energy is, a 5D timeline, as you'll hear a lot of people talk about, in simple terms, 5D or fifth dimensional timeline refers to a way of living and being and experiencing life based on higher consciousness, love, and unity. Okay? It's about moving beyond the lower, slower frequencies of fear, separation, and conflict, which are more common in the 3D timeline or world, and aligning with more heavenly frequencies of peace, harmony, unity, joy, and love. And so the shadow creates a dead weight energetically that we end up carrying that we aren't even aware of. but it heavily affects our life. It dims our light and it causes our vibration to be low and slow. And it can create all sorts of uncomfortable situations in our life and attract a lot of pain, a lot of chaos, and negativity if left unaddressed. Because we manifest or we create in our life not what we want, but what we are a vibrational match to. And so shadow work is simply being able to see, acknowledge, and accept all the parts of ourselves. And when we see our shadow, we bring light to it, which means a shadow or darkness gets smaller and eventually ceases to exist. It's like walking into a room and turning on the light switch in a dark room. And that's funny, the light literally just went out above me. Thanks, Spirit. So shadow is about integration, okay? So integrating the fragmented parts of ourselves back into the whole. So when you're doing shadow work, you're sending the light of your conscious awareness to parts of you that were unacknowledged before. And so as we move through our own personal ascension, shadow work is absolutely crucial for us to do to evolve spiritually and for our energy to ascend. We are being called to bring all areas of ourself up to speed with our highest potential and highest timeline. And so as co-creators of our lives, and to be able to call in or manifest all that we desire, it's key to get out of our shadows and into a place of neutrality. We have to learn how to sustain the light long enough to download our dreams into this dimension. And it's a practice of getting neutral and meeting our karmic experiences from a place of light. In every moment, we are given a choice to respond from a place of light and love or from a place of shadow and fear. Neutral is a state of trusting that you are capable in all things and in all ways. And when you are aligned with the divinity within you, that divine spark inside, and all around you in the quantum field, okay, you are able to create from that place of light. In order to respond, you need to get neutral by getting out of your head, okay, and all the mind thoughts of judgment, competition, comparison, lack, and dropping down into your heart, your center of your divinity. We all have free will choices, and every day we have the power to choose, that's the law of free will, how we want to show up in the world. And we either choose from the frequency of fear and shadow or from the frequency of love and light. And as we know, reaction comes from fear. Okay, that's our ego talking, where response comes from love, our higher self, that innate part of us that is eternal. So when we consciously show up in our lives with an intention to operate from our higher selves, we will naturally align with this frequency of love. We then choose from light and we respond to life. And it is in this practice that we are able to sustain the divine code of co-creation and manifest every moment into our most expansive reality. And so step one is we have to be aware of it, okay? Whatever shadow aspect is in front of us, coming up for us in order to be healed. And step two is we can then use a mantra, okay? So you could counterbalance that or cancel that shadow out by just saying, I embrace what's coming up. I allow the fullness of this to surface now. So the key is to build a healthy relationship with our shadow, not to reject it or, again, repress it or deny it, but to embrace it and own it. And the best way to do that is through love, okay? There's really only two emotions in this world. They're either fear or love. And so our shadow is born out of fear. And so now I want to leave you with two easy techniques or practices to work with to embrace your shadow. When we consciously embrace our shadow and send it love, okay, when something comes up for us in our minds that is dark or painful or negative, all we need to do is acknowledge it, feel it, okay? So the first practice I would suggest is simple meditation. When something is coming up for you, feel into it, feel into yourself. Go into that inner child part of you. We all have an inner child, and for most of us, there is a wounded inner child. And so we can close our eyes, get out of our head, drop into our heart, and connect to how we feel. Just ask yourself, what's coming up for me? Use curiosity and compassion as you feel into it. Don't try to intellectualize it away. Just hold space for yourself to really feel it. Give yourself permission to do that. And then you connect with your inner child, okay? So that wounded part of us that holds the shadow, it's that part of us that did what we had to do to get our needs met, okay? To receive the love we needed or the attention and approval we needed from our parents and our caregivers at that time, which often entailed self-betrayal and self-abandonment, okay? So for me, I became the caregiver and the people pleaser in my family dynamic to get the love and attention that I needed. So just give your inner child a voice, okay? Let her or him speak to you in your meditation and just see what repressed memories or feelings start to surface. And then once you've sat with that and it's come up for you, mentally give her or him a big hug. And just say, I love you, I see you, I hear you, okay? This is an act of transmuting that fear into love. A second practice that you could use is journaling. This has always been my go-to, but allow yourself an opportunity to have an emotional brain dump. Just let it all out, okay? So whether you're in a notebook or a journal or on your computer, it doesn't matter. Just write without a filter. Ask yourself, where is this feeling coming from? And what is this here to teach me? Okay? And just allow yourself to express your true emotions. Really go into your darkness, your sadness, your anger, your frustration, your resentment, whatever it is, just let it come up and out. Getting it off your mind and off your chest. And just really feeling deeply into this is a way of sending light into your shadow. And at some point, you'll feel you're done. You feel like you've emptied it all out. There's nothing left to say, nothing left to write. So the more you write through it, the more you can process it out and understand it. And knowledge really is power. And the faster and easier you can then release it. So I hope you found one, if not both of these tools helpful. If not, go within, ask your higher self and your guides what it is you need to know or to do in order to get in touch with and release that shadow, bringing more light. As always, I am wishing you brightest blessings and all love.